Okay, call this meeting to order. We're here to meet the candidates for the 2019-2020 Pine Ridge Board of Directors. Would you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge of Allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I have several questions I'm going to ask, and to start with, we're just going to go in alphabetical order. I think that's the way they're set up right now, alphabetical order. And then the second question, we'll reverse it and come back and forth, so forth. But before we get started, though, as I introduce each candidate, I'd like to give them about 3 minutes to tell you a little about themselves and what they stand for, whatever. And then after they've done that, then I'll go into my questions. So, first up is Isabel.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
How's that better?
Yes.
Yes. I'm Isabel Costanzo, and I have been a resident of Pine Ridge for 27 years. Yes. However, Pine Ridge was not a 55 and over community when I arrived, so I am not 99 years old. Anyway, I've been here for 27 years, and for most of the time, 15 years, I was president of the social club, running all the events and bus trips, whatever. And I have come to know a lot about Pine Ridge during that time. I have worked with Eric when we revised the bylaws, and I've been a member of many committees aside from the social club. So I feel I know a lot of the ins and outs to Pine Ridge.
Thank you.
Enough time?
Bill?
My name is William, or Bill England. And, we've lived here, and my wife and I have lived here in Pine Ridge for about 5 years. I really enjoy this community, and it's got a lot of good people lives here, and we want to make sure that that continues on down the road. I think that I can bring some fresh ideas to the board, and hopefully everyone will go along with some of those ideas that I have. I know it's been kind of hard to get everybody to go along in the past, but hopefully we'll put a lot of those things aside and move forward.
Donna?
Hi, this is Juanitas. Hi, my name is Donna Juasa. It's not working. Okay, we don't read this. My name is Donna Juasa. I've been here for about 2 years. I love this place. I fell in love with it when I first came here. But now I'm finding some issues, and we need to all get together, help each other out, and take care of things that need to be taken care of. One of the main issues I feel is safety. I was on the safety committee where I worked in New York City, and I could see issues here. We need to do something. Everybody's life is a concern here. So, like I said, I lived in New York City. I worked for the state of New York for many, many years. And I know the ins and outs of running certain things, although I would not be running anything here. Okay, I want you to consider me. Thank you.
Thank you, Don. Scott?
I'm Scott Harris, and for those of you who don't know me, I'm a 15-year resident. Like a lot of people here, when you first arrive, you can't really believe you found the place. I mean, it's a little oasis. And I started out getting involved in committees because there were things back then. And then there was kind of a small, not very small, rather a large sea change with the board and bringing things back to order here in the community. And I got involved with the board because there was a period when we were rolling the same people over and over and over again on the board because nobody was running. And I told Paul, I said, well, I'll give it a shot. But I mean, what's involved? And everybody was really good about educating us on that. So I ran once and lost. Everybody hates me. I went home. And then the next year they came back and said, well, you're going to run again, right? I said, no, everybody hates me. Why should I run? And he said, run. So I did, and I was elected. It's quite a responsibility, and everybody loves this place, and you want to do the best for it. And sometimes that can get a little strained, but most of the time our object is the same. I'm running again. This would be my third term. I've been elected twice. I don't think this should be a permanent position, and we're getting more people interested, but there's a couple projects that I was around for the birth of, and I'd kind of like to see them graduate college, and it involves the landscape has always been my love, and now I've been working on with the budget, and there's a little fine tuning to be done on that, and I'd like to finish that up. But I'm glad to see that this year we've got 6 candidates. And it's very important because a lot of the decisions here, only the board can decide that. And so you really need to look at the candidates and find the people that you think, this person thinks like I think. And that's really the person that you need to consider to be a board director on the board for the association. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Ken Jerome?
Good evening. My name is Ken Jerome, and I've been on the board since 2013. Right now, I'm the chairman of the Security and Safety Committee. A lot of the improvements that you've seen around the lighting enhancement was done by our committee. We tried to keep breaches to a minimum by plantings along the east side of the lake. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, all right. And then anyway, I started on the architectural committee before I was on the board. That happened in 2010. And we wrote a manual so everybody knows what they can do. It was a big thing maybe back about 15 or 16 years ago. Nobody knew what they could do. You know, I tried to put an extended lanai in and I was told I couldn't. And a lawyer told me we couldn't. Well, the way it came out, I could, and I did. So I thought that would be good so people could know what they could do, and we help them because that's what we're there for. We're there to help the people. I was involved with the. I hate to admit this, but with the TV cable committee. But you know, we got involved in it, and we did very well with the negotiations. When we first started, we were paying $51, and now we're paying 31, and so that's a pretty good reduction, 38% reduction. And I got to hand credit to the whole board because with all the negotiations we do, that's why your assessments have been down. When you look at the last 6 years, assessments have only gone up 2.8%. That's 2.8% in 6 years. So I think that you know, I'd like to take a bow for that. I'd like Eric to take a big bow. But I think that's what I want to continue to do. I want to keep this place safe. I want to keep it sharp, and I want to keep the assessments down.
Thank you, Ken. Mike?
My name is Mike Wallen, and I've been a resident for 7 years. I've been on the board for 6 years, and I'd like to be on the board for another 2 years, because I think I work well with other people, and I'm reasonable, and I bring a variety of assets as far as my background goes, so that I know quite a bit about different building projects. I'm on Architectural Review Committee chairman, and like Ken said, the manual pretty much tells you everything, but if there's anything else that needs to be done, then I have some knowledge in those areas. And as far as my goals are to work for the community, to make it better, more fun, and keep it, the assessments as low as possible, while bringing up the values by making it look better and more fun with lots of different activities. I'm kind of in charge voluntarily of some different activities over the years. And as the new people come in, I was just, more and more of them seem to want to do more activities. And anyway, I would just like to continue on with the board and do what's best for the community and next as the individual. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Okay, I'm going to ask the panel here for about 4 questions, and we're going to start with Mike and then work our way back up for each question. It doesn't have to be too involved, but just these are some of the things I've been considering. Well, number 1, what, if any, issues do you want the future board of directors to consider? I know some of you have already covered that, but Mike, you're up.
What issues do I want the board to consider in the future? Is that the question?
Yeah, if any.
Looking into the next 2 years, what do you do?
Okay, well, safety and security, lake quality, I'm gonna keep that where it is. The beautification of the landscaping, make it a desirable place to live in and for others to want to live in. And just general, keep the place tip-top shape and make it desirable and make our property values remain the same or higher.
Okay, thank you. Ken, same question.
Okay, I have a couple of things that I covered in other ones, but one of the things that's been on my mind is a lot of people maybe don't read the docs. You know, it's a pain in the neck to read it anyway, but I'd like us as a board to define what our responsibilities are and what our limits are so that people know. You know, I hear a lot of meetings, they say, well, we should vote as a community on certain issues, and I would just like to have something that we could have, a sheet or two that would tell the community what our limitations are. I think that was the main thing that I would like to address as an issue, okay? And later on I'll talk about improvements.
Okay, Scott?
Oh, sorry. I'm probably going to answer questions 1 and 3 at the same time. If I'm returned to the board and if I'm returned to the position of treasurer, which yet to be seen, I'd like to focus on the reserves because the market's getting a little tight. Eric has to negotiate a little bit harder. There's full employment out there. Some of the contractors can pick and choose. Prices are going up. And I'd just like to focus on the budget and the projections and make sure that we always have the reserves, because we've been very fortunate in never having to assess people additionally. That's kind of one of the rules we like to stick to. It may happen that we can't, but I'd like us, not to have to stare at the ceiling at night wondering if we've got enough money, if we should have to do repairs or anything like that. So That's me.
Thank you. Donna?
Like I said,
So Ken, what can do the minutes?
like I said, my main concerns as of late is safety in the community. I have found out that some bikes were stolen and other issues have happened with the condos, someone's condo. And that makes me very nervous. We have a lot of elderly people here who could literally get killed in their own apartments if something did happen. We don't know what kind of element is coming in from outside. I think maybe one of my main concerns should be how we can make this safer, this community, besides the lighting. The lighting will help because criminals don't like to be seen. But maybe something else could be done, I don't know. Okay.
Thank you. Going back up, Bill?
One thing that I think the board should look at is some type of video surveillance coverage, or whatever you want to call it, for the community and the property. Gets back to where they said, you know, had the bicycle stolen, we had some nets placed in the lake where they were trapping turtles and fish and so forth, and placed a string across some portion of the road somewhere, and you know, it creates safety hazards. So if we had some way of looking at some of these areas where people aren't all the time, it would probably help quite a bit. And another thing they hit on earlier there was the lake. Our lake's starting to get looking pretty bad again. We're getting a lot of weeds and algae build up in it again, and it needs something done with it too.
Thank you. Isabel?
I guess we all have the same thing in mind because safety was on my mind also. I live down at the end of Green Cypress Lane, and it was very dark down there. I appreciate the lights that have been put in. But in the past, we have had voice patrol come in here every now and again. And I think that is a good thing because they would come in and just ride around, and if anyone happened to be in here and had something bad in mind, just seeing a police car driving through, that might be a help. We might approach them and see if they would be willing to come in the evening at different times, at least once an evening. And we also had the patrol, where we had volunteers who would ride 2 or 3 on the golf cart and just ride around with the blinking light. And I think that would hinder someone from thinking that they could just come in and do anything they wanted. The lighting has helped a great deal. I've noticed in the past few days over by the shuffleboard court we have more lighting, and that's a welcome thing. So I appreciate that, but I do think we need to look into something more. Thank you.
Okay. I think you covered number 2, unless you want to add something to that, to number 2.
The project?
Yes.
Yeah.
I have a great project in mind, and that is the maintenance shed. I think Pine Ridge looks lovely. It's never looked better in all the days that I've been here. Come in and it's just beautiful. However, when we get down to the maintenance shed, it sticks out like a sore thumb. And that's not the fault of the maintenance men. They're doing their job in there, but we need to do something. We need to put up a fence where on the weekends the gate is closed and you can ride by and not be embarrassed when you bring guests in and have to pass the maintenance shed. That's something that has to be looked at.
Okay, thank you. Bill, do you want to add anything on number 2?
Yeah, I think what we really need to look at is some kind of new front entrance signage that we have out there. what we have out there right now, you can't even tell this is Pine Ridge until you get up to the little guard shack, and it's got Pine Ridge Road on the front of it. You know, if someone's looking to come into the community or find out where it's at, they don't even know because there's nothing out there to show you where it's at. It's all grown up. We had a big, looked like a 2-inch pipe or something stuck up out of the middle of it there and had water in it, which they finally shut the water off, which that made it look a little bit better, taking that big piece of pipe out. But we need a new sign out there in the worst way to let you know we're really proud of what we have on the inside, but when people drive up out there, that's the first impression that they get is when they see that, and we really should have something to show that we're proud out there too.
Thank you, Bill. Donna?
I like that idea. I kind of agree with Bill. And a thought just popped into my mind. Like the signs we have for Windsor, but bigger. You know, I think that would be fantastic with the light shining on it. And that'll also help with the safety issue. There's a big light shining on it.
Okay. Ken?
I want to continue with the lighting enhancement. We're still not finished with it, and we want to, as long as we're budgeted for it, we want to continue to get the lighting at 100%. It seems like everybody is pretty happy with the enhancement. I haven't heard anybody complain about too much lighting, so I'm glad to hear that. Maybe I'll hear that later. But also, I'd like to get something done with the front, with the intersection, Orange Boulevard and our entrance. Continually working with the county on that, and it's still not an acceptable situation. People don't know if they're supposed to stop, if they're supposed to go. You get people, not only us, but people on the outside that coming down Orange River Boulevard from Palm Beach, and they don't know if they should stop when they stop, and they're not supposed to. And it gets very confusing. And I think that, I don't know, one time we had a 4-way stop there, and that seemed like it worked the best. But the county hasn't been real receptive to that. But I want to try to get something done up there that's not so confusing to everybody.
Okay. Thank you, Ken. Mike, you have any improvements you would like to see?
Well, the issue with the entrance has always been a problem. I don't really have a solution for it. There's something that we probably need to continue to work on. The lighting is always something that needs to be improved. Well, at least now it's better than it was, but it still needs some improvement. And we've improved the tennis courts and redone, I think, the bocce ball courts too. But I can't think of anything else. The pool equipment's all in decent shape, and I think just continue with the maintenance program that we actually have going right now.
Thank you, Mike. My third question is, what do you see as your role on the board of directors? So let's see with you, Mike. You want to continue with that?
Okay, my role on the board would be to negotiate with the board members on issues where there's disagreements, listen to the people of the community to see what their thoughts are, and represent the majority of what they want done and what their issues are, and just to be flexible enough to do what's right for the majority of the community while serving on the board.
Thank you. Ken?
Well, I
What
think
is your role?
The biggest part of what we do is we react to the needs of the community. That's what we're here for. And then we're also last 6 years getting along. We do have disagreements, but nothing like it used to be 10 years ago where some of them were almost got into fist fights. So I think we've done a very good job, and I want to continue to be able to deal with everybody on the board in a reasonable manner and not have a rubber stamp for everything, but to be able to deal with each other in a civil manner.
Thanks, Ken.
What are you trying to say, Joe?
I think Scott has already covered 3, or at least he indicated.
Well, as I
he
read
wants
your
to add.
question, my answer would be Kaiser.
I'm sorry?
As I read the question, my answer would be Kaiser. Kaiser roll.
He wants to be the chief comedian.
I give the same attention to the numbers as I do to the spelling.
Donna?
Okay, I see my role on the board as being able to take direction from the residents, get their opinions, their concerns, bring it to fellow members of the board, and then be able to react to these issues in a sane manner. It's as simple as that.
Bill?
I think first of all, the role is to be a good listener. Listen to what, like I said, what the needs of the community is. And to work for the welfare of the community to make sure that we continue with our improvements. And that way, the more improvements we make in the community, the better, and our property value is going to increase, and it makes us all feel better when the prices go up.
Thank you. Isabel?
Well, I would work in any area. I would help out in any area that I'm needed. And also to listen to the residents and hear what they have to say. If they have an issue, to help them attack the issue, bring it to the board and try to settle it. And do what's best for the community. Thank you.
Thank you. My final question, and most of you have already answered this, so just take a pass if you don't want to add anything to it. But what do you think is a function of the board in the community? Isabel?
Well, to help run the community best to our ability and to listen to the residents. We're here to serve the residents in the community.
Thank you. Bill?
To me, one of the main things is to see that we all live in a safe environment, and that we also, that the board also works to continue to keep the finances in the black, so that we won't be like some of the other communities that I've seen lately in the papers where they're operating in the red, and I don't know how they do that, but we've been fortunate to keep the finances here in the black, which is good.
Okay.
Donna?
I'm afraid to touch these mics.
Don't get shot.
I'm not gonna use this because something's going on here. I feel that the function of the board is to keep the community safe, to represent all the residents and all the owners of the community, and also to make sure, or try to make sure, that we keep it within price range, that the community as a whole can afford anything that we are going to be doing.
Scott?
Well, I think everybody says, we all know what the function of the board is, and we're all residents here. And strictly speaking, the function of the board is defined in law. We have those restraints, but the object of the game is for us to address the needs of the community. And this is why we have community, at the open forum, people can bring things up. We can try to have an answer in a month. We have a philosophy of not wanting to say no. It's usually yes, so we work to try to do that. The only reason I can see us saying no is, one, it's illegal, or two, we can't afford it because we're not Naples, and so we can't do that. So I think people are pretty aware, and we try to be responsive to that, and we do. And people up here are listening all the time, even when they're out walking the dog, trying to keep a feel of what people really want in this community, which is, generally speaking, exactly what we want, which is a good life.
Ken?
Well, I made a note, because I had these ahead of time, but I said, I always remember that we work for the community, and the community doesn't work for us. And we're here to do the legwork, to see what's feasible and what's affordable to improve the community. So that's what I believe that the board does.
Thank you. Mike?
Well, it's gonna be a repeat of what pretty much everyone else has said, but our job is to do what's best for the community, like keeping the cost down, keeping the place safe, and making it fun. So we work for the community, a volunteer group, but need to make decisions that are in the best interest of the community.
Thank you, Mike. Okay, going on to the next point on the agenda, that is the audience questions. And I will recognize each person that wants to ask a question. So if you just raise your hand, you can ask a question, but I also want to limit it to asking an individual. So, I try to cover most of those things that would go around, but if there are specifics that you want to ask one of the individuals, just raise your hand and I'll try to recognize you. And limit it to one question, okay? You're up front, Marcia.
Thank you, and I don't know who to address this to, so I'm just gonna put it out there. Obviously, in the last few months, we've had some issues where maybe a lot of us didn't feel that we were being heard. I would like to hear from you how you're gonna connect with the constituents, because there's a lot of people here. And so, do you have any specific plans of how you would do you have any specific plans of how you would communicate and find out what the community needs, such as maybe emails, polls, knock on doors? I don't know what it is. I'd like to hear from anybody that cares to answer that.
I want to volunteer.
Yeah, I'll take it. The thing that's worked best here is our committee system. And I think if you're referring to the cable contract, that kind of fell apart. And the absence of it sort of proved that the committee system really works. And our committees are open pretty much to anybody that comes in, and they do a lot of the legwork, the research, they get the contractors in, they do the due diligence, and then these several people, these residents, then start bringing their conclusions to the board, and there's a feedback loop going on there. So it's from the people to the committees to the board, back to the committees, back to the people. And that's how we work it out. On a lot of things, it's proven to work very well. And in this one particular instance, where we didn't have the committee, it just fell apart. And it shouldn't have done so. So I think going forward, it's like if somebody, I have a great idea. It's like, great, you're going to start the committee, and let's go out and find some people, and then we'll work on it and see what we can do. Because things like security, working on security in here, Ken knows that you've got to do a bunch of legwork and to see what you can do. And some things seem like a great idea at first, and then you start bouncing around with other people, and suddenly it's like, that's not so great, but this, here, wait. You know, we find it. And I think that's the best way to go about it, actually.
Okay, thank you, Scott. Anybody else want to respond to that, to Marcia's question?
Well, I didn't put my email address up there, I should have, but I put my phone number on, put my phone number out there, so that way it's harder to go around and knock on people's door, I guess, and ask them what their opinion of everything is, because there'd be 460 different opinions that you would have. I don't know how you would ever bring that before anybody. So I guess the biggest thing is just having communication with people. You know, a lot of people can't get out or don't want to get out, and so that gives them an opportunity if they just call you or email.
Thank you, Bill. Anybody on the board or the candidates?
Yeah, I'll answer. When we had, well, it was original for me, when we had the original cable committee back 4 years ago, we posted a notice up on the board and also on a TV looking for members that were interested in joining the committee. And we ended up with about 80 people. And then we investigated the alternatives. And then we presented our recommendations to the board, and the board either approved it or disapproved it. And what it ended up being is, you know, we went again with Comcast, but we got a pretty good reduction. So I think that we went through a lot of steps to get as many people on that committee as we could. I think a lot of people found that, yeah, I want to be on a committee, and then all of a sudden, they never showed up because it was work. So, you know, the people that we need on the committee, people that are willing to work and follow through right to the end. So I think if maybe we would have done that this year, it would have been, you know, better for everybody.
Okay, thank you. Mike, anybody else? Okay, let's go with the second question. Jeff, you want to come up front?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
My name is Jeff Stark. Some of you know me, some of you don't. I've been here for 16 years as a full-time year-round resident. I've had one peeve for the last years and years, and most of you people know what I'm talking about. My intro for this is kudos to Eric and the boards for making this a nice place to live, and the budget committee for controlling costs over the years. To all the past boards, this board, you've all done a phenomenal job of controlling the costs. This place is phenomenal. Walk around landscaping, et cetera, the place, it couldn't be much better if you tried. He's got the right people doing the right job in all places. He deserves a lot of credit, period. Now we get into the things that I want to discuss. You all, people that know me know what this is already. All the people that are running for the board, and the board members that are already on the board, no one here has mentioned that the board functions also to enforce the documents. No one mentioned that. You can say you want to do this, you're going to do that. No one said we're going to enforce the doc. It's the board's decisions to enforce the documents. The first rule in Pine Ridge documents, number 1, is a very short sentence. Does anybody on the board know what that is, running for the board? Okay, I'll remind everyone. You know, obviously, because you've probably seen it 1,000 times. First rule is, the speed limit in Pine Ridge is 15 miles an hour. Okay, you all laughed. We have running for the board 2 people on the safety committee. One has been a 4-year board member, and Donna is on the security and safety committee. My question, if I can only have one question, is what does the board plan to do about the speeding and traffic infractions in Pine Ridge? And how are you going to enforce it, and what are you going to use as a penalty for people that do not obey the speed limits and the traffic rules of blowing through stop signs, not paying attention, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, this goes on for? It's not a constant, it's not a thing that happens once in a while, it's a constant problem. When I follow people down Lakeside Club Drive at 35 miles an hour and they pull in their parking spot, and they turn around and give me the finger when I say something to them, I don't need that. Because one of these days, folks, you're gonna be out there, and one of your grandkids is gonna get lost from your hand for a second, you turn around, or one of your dogs, there's a lady back there who's shaking her head who knows me, will tell you the dog gets off the leash for a split second and runs out. It gets hit by somebody doing 30 to 35 miles an hour. We've already had the gate crash more than once because people weren't paying attention, et cetera, et cetera. We've tried speed bumps, we've tried signs, we put up grandparents at play, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and it has not solved the problem ever.
Jeff,
And everyone can know that. The question,
address
the question, well, I want the people to understand what I'm saying. The question is, what does the board plan to do, and who the board members, that have 2 safety committee members on it now, plan to do to enforce the traffic regulations of document number 1? Document rule number 1 of 15 miles an hour.
Okay, thank
And
you,
what are,
Jeff.
and what are the penalties?
Thank you, Jeff. Okay, as before, anybody want to address that?
Yeah, I'll address it because I'm on the safety and security committee.
Okay.
We've tried a number of things. You know, we brought in a radar sign and it seemed to be effective. But, after 3 or 4 weeks, we had to give it back to the county. We looked at buying a couple, and I think that that's an effective way of slowing people up. I think we asked the residents to be cooperative, to slow up. We're all adults. We talked about if we brought the sheriff in, well, then we're giving him a right to start going around and finding everybody in our community, and we really didn't want that. So we've been trying different things, and I think the most effective thing is asking people to slow up. And I think that those signs, and not grandparents' signs, I'm talking about radar signs, are effective. That we're not trying to, I don't think it's our job to be policemen in the community. We're not the Gestapo. But I think that we have to try to slow everybody up. If we can't get the cooperation of the people, then I think everybody knows what the alternative is, and is to put speed bumps in it, and everybody's going to be really annoyed with it. So it's not like we're not trying to do this, but I think the biggest thing is that we have to ask for the cooperation of the people.
Thank you. Anyone else on?
I could be corrected on this, but as I remember, this when we had this before, and Jeff's right, it's an ongoing thing, and you would think people would get the message. The sheriff did loan us that speed sign, but during that period, we were talking about adding more speed bumps. And of course, that turned into another knockdown, drag out, and then splitting the community. And what we ended up doing, and like I said, I could be corrected on this, is we only put in half as many speed bumps as we approved. So there's 50% more speed bumps that can be put in to slow people down. But that's, like Ken says, that's really going to be annoying. And maybe the county will give us that radar thing signed, because maybe people come out of that crazy traffic and they don't realize how fast they're still going. Because you come out of the traffic and you're going crazy. And the suggestion has been like, well, maybe fining people. And that seems to be, I mean, as treasurer, we could use the money. But that seems to me like an object of last resort. And as far as getting a sheriff in here continuously, that also gets to be a problem, because if you've ever seen them, they start looking around for stuff. You know, they're not just in after the speeders, and I don't think we need to do that.
Okay. Donna?
I have to put my 2 cents in here. I was a school crossing guard for a while. And I can tell you about asking people, and it's a shame, asking people to slow down. You have signage in the street with flashing yellow lights, 15 miles an hour, school zone, zoom, 50 miles an hour right through. And you can hardly do anything about it except call the sheriff's department, and maybe 2 or 3 days later they'll come by and check it out. And now I'm talking about a school zone, 1 block from the school. This is a community. In reality, nobody should be here but the residents and the visitors and the renters. If they don't come for 2 days in a school crossing zone, think about it.
Can I ask?
Wait a minute, wait a minute.
It's true.
Anybody else want to comment on this?
Well, I was watched the news this afternoon, and they had 14 people they cited for passing parked school buses, you know. And how do you prevent people from speeding in here is a question too. You know, I don't know how you're going to do it.
Video.
Yeah, video, and that's the reason I said, you know, we need to look at the video coverage. If you had cameras out there at least, it gives the opportunity to go and talk to those people. Gives Eric a little more leeway to work with, and it gives a board member some leeway to work with and say, hey, look right here, we see you coming through here, busting down through here 20 mile an hour, you know, and running through the stop signs. Now, if you don't stop, the next thing's gonna happen, we're gonna cost you a little money. So, gonna have to do something. It is terrible. I agree with you.
Thank you. Okay, let's go to a third question.
I have a question. Yes. Something that I do not understand. When you borrow this sign that I've seen on the highways that tell you the speed that you're doing, and you kind of slow down, that's natural, okay? What happens when you put it up in our development and somebody sees that they're going 35 miles an hour? Does that machine take a picture of their, here comes the problem. I say neighbors, if you know your habitual speeders, they all have driver's license or license plate on the back. Take it off. We will make a display of all the speeders' license plates. I am not kidding. Why not? They have to abide by all laws and regulations. If you live here, you are a resident, we have bylaws and everything.
You're supposed to be asking questions so we can.
I don't know, I like it. I like it.
I like it, it's funny, but it's illegal. You can't take someone's property.
Well, isn't that interesting? How do we have to abide by our rules and regulations? Then I consider those illegal. I live here, but your rules and regulations, I don't want to abide by them.
One thing,
As simple as that.
one thing that I'll say, if I can just interject, everybody in this room is bound by those rules and regulations. Obviously, you know, it's a free country, you can do what you want, but you'd be in violation of them. Everybody who speeds or runs a stop sign is in violation of them. Jeff, the first line in the rules, John, you know it because we wrote it. The speed limit in Pine Ridge, all roads are 15 miles an hour. If everybody follows it, if everybody follows all the rules, things will generally go pretty smooth here. When people start breaking the rules, and speeding is one of the most common problems in any community, but it's also one of the most dangerous or potentially deadly. You know, we're asking for your cooperation so we don't have to put in speed bumps and things like that. Those flashing signs, they are effective short term, but they lose their effect. You know, you wouldn't want it permanent because it loses their effect. But if you can surprise people with it every now and then, it does.
Can I expound on for 1 second?
Yes, Jeff.
I understand that everybody is opposed to speed bumps because it's going to damage your cars supposedly. You get on the big lots or down here to Dollar General, you go those speed bumps down there, and that's a pain in the neck. I understand all that. But there are, and these are done by professionals, that make called speed humps, not bumps. And you've all driven over these in residential neighborhoods where there's a lot of kids, there's this little boom. You don't have to slow your car down if you're doing 15, you just go right over it like that. It won't affect ambulances, it won't affect fire trucks, it won't affect anybody that comes in here visiting with trucks. You just drive over it. If you do 25, you're gonna have a problem. It's gonna make your car go thump, thump. So it makes you for 15, or your car gets, and you can have them engineered to any speed you want by how much you want to make elevate them. So if you tell a company, I'm going to 15 mile an hour speed hump put in here, and here, and here, and here, you drive 15 miles an hour, you won't even know they're there.
Thank you, Jeff. Shannon?
Figure out the best way to get it.
That's gonna be hard.
Yeah.
Please don't follow the can of pork.
We'll charge yourself. My question to you is, I think one of the things that you brought up was communicating with the community and representing the community and trying to understand what the community wants. My question is to each one of you is, I just want like a yes or no, whether you're a full-time resident or you're not a full-time resident. And then based on whether you are a full-time or you're not a full-time, I think full-time residents can be here and never be seen. I think part-time residents can be here and we feel like they're here all the time. So you have to watch your interaction with the people. How much are you out? How much do you go out and get involved in the community events? How much do you interact with the people in the community?
I'd like to clarify that. You know, by law, we cannot exclude anyone. So by, if you're an owner, you're allowed to run for the board.
I understand that. It's just a piece of information that I think a lot of us are interested in. It's not something that we can disclude somebody from because they are part-time or not, but I think it's information that we should, as a community, be allowed to have.
Yeah, I think that's a legitimate question if you're a part-time or a full-time resident. But a duty of a board member is not necessarily to go to every social event, and you know, it is what you make of it. Some people are more sociable than others. It doesn't make them a good or a bad board member.
Okay, we'll continue with her point.
Oh, there's somebody back there.
Oh, they're asking.
Full-time resident.
Okay, you're gonna finish that? Okay.
Full-time or part-time?
I'm a full-time resident. Have been for 21 years. I mean, part-time, when we first bought our condo, became a vacation and fell in love with the place and decided to live here. And I've been here as a full-time resident for 20 years and 7 vacation.
We're here for about 10 months out of the year. My wife's usually here all the time, but I kind of sneak out a little bit. But usually about 10 months.
Full-time resident, I came here about 2 years ago.
Scott?
Well, I'm a full-time owner, but is there anybody here in this room that hasn't seen my face? Like all year round? Or seems like, maybe seen my face too much? So technically, I'm a part-timer because I go to West Virginia in the summer because it's too damn hot here. But it seems to me in the past few years, I seems to have been here more than some of the full-time residents. So it's kind of a moot question, really, for me. It's just, am I here enough?
Ken?
Okay, I'm a part-time resident. I'm a resident of Michigan, and I have my homestead in Michigan, but I'm down in Florida just under 6 months, you know, here and there. And I have a 5-month shot, and then another month usually in October. I'm pretty accessible. I think a lot of people know me. I think if you're in the pool and you participate in the parties, people see you. And I think that's probably why people see me. But I think it's important that not only to have somebody that's down there full-time on the board, but part-timers too, representing the whole community. I think that, I don't know if anybody on the board could really say that they're all the time. You know, people are getting out of town in July and August, so, but that's what my deal is.
Mike?
Obviously.
Well, I think in this day and age with the electronics that we have and there's FaceTime, there's Skype, and there's phones you can be on. So even though you're not there in person, you can be there either listening or making decisions at all the board meetings if you want to be on the phone. So choosing a board member on whether or not they're full-time or part-time, I don't think is really an issue in this day and age of electronics that we have. It's probably, well, in my opinion, it'd be better to have a good board member who's only there part-time. Myself, I'm there about 6 months, and then I'm in Iowa 6 months, but in my opinion, it's probably better to have a board member that's a good fit for the community than it is to have someone who is maybe full-time resident who may be more radical or argumentative or just not a good fit for the board. That's just my opinion.
Thanks, Mike. Okay, are there any more questions from the audience? Ann?
I'd like to address my question to you, Scott, and I think you made a very good point when you talked about the reserve study.
You're scared.
Yeah. No, I'm not trying to scare you. As you know, when I was on the board, we did, I think maybe the first reserve study that was ever done, and at that, eventually we worked to the point where we were 100%.
Right.
But you made a very good point. Things have gone up, and materials have gone up, and workers have gone up. Do you, if you are re-elected to the board, do you think it is a time to do another reserve study?
We get information, what's her name, Rebecca?
Yeah, can I respond? Can I just-
Well, you can start, and I'll finish, because she's asking me, but
A complete,
his memory's better than mine.
reserve study is a big.
Expense.
Is a big undertaking. That, another one is not, a full one is not necessary, but what we do each year is we update what the cost of each construction item is, and then we work that into the formula that calculates how much we need to contribute to the reserves. So like roofing, since the hurricane, has gone up quite a bit. So we get from the same company that did the reserve study, an updated list on what everything costs per unit, and then we extrapolate it out to the community.
Okay, then we, as members of the community, can we be informed as to what percentage, I mean, are we 100% as a reserve, 100% funded at this time?
Yes.
And does it continue to be along?
Yeah.
Because I know it was a very expensive endeavor, but, which is one reason it was never done before.
As long as nothing crazy happens, as long as I'm here, I
Well,
intend to make sure
Okay,
that
so
we're-
we are 100% reserve, 100%,
Yeah,
yeah.
and this is more my wheelhouse now with the numbers when they drop treasure in my lap, because I'm a whole lot better with numbers than some people would say I am with people sometimes. But the spreadsheets can do a lot of work, and once we finish getting those polished, as the information comes in from year to year, from quarter to quarter, we can play a lot of what ifs. What if this happens with this cost? What if this happens with this replacement item? What if? And then the spreadsheet will do a lot of that work for us. But no, the point is to keep us 100% in our reserves, because we don't want to have to worry about where we're going to find money, because some of this stuff is incredibly expensive.
Well,
And if we're even 10% behind, that's thousands and thousands of dollars. So no, I assure you, I mean, if I'm elected, I'm sure that if I'm not and somebody else takes the position, they'll probably do the same, is to be pretty rigid about this, because it is one of, it's the prime directive is fiduciary duty, and we owe it to this community to be responsible with the money.
I'm aware, and I know years ago that was not so, but I'm.
Well, a lot of people, beginning with you,
hear.
and when they worked over the years, And it's taken a long time, it's really, and that's one of the things that I'd like to really get the polish on is a good set of budgetary tools.
Thank you. One other comment I might make, as far as the speed goes, I went to visit a friend in a mobile home park, and there was 15 miles per hour signs all over the place. If you went any faster than that, you'd have ruined your car. Potholes this big. And so maybe we just let the roads go and they'll take care of themselves.
We don't do that.
I'm going to circle back around to the communication issue, and I think I'll address this to Scott. Scott, you're kind of...
You're too tall for the microphone.
Yeah. Is that better? I want to come back around to the communication question. I'm going to address it to Scott. You seem to be the numbers guy, so I guess I'd like to see the board really examine having an email blast of not only the major important items, but even just some of the day-to-day stuff that might be of concern to residents. One of the things I noticed, we're here about 8 months of the year, so in the summer, we don't see a notice that's on the bulletin board, you know, any mailings or anything we of course get, but you know, you're not really tuned in because it gets put on the bulletin board, we're not here. Even during season, sometimes you don't come down here all the time. Could we look at that and find out how many residents actually have email and would want to look at it? I think it's worth a study to
Yeah, this is another Eric thing, and he does have it. You can submit an email address, and we can do a tree, but you have to sign a waiver or something to accept communication by email.
If you're registered on our website and you put your email in, then you'll be part of the BLAST email system. Now, I know something we've talked about is getting a better website. That's what Scott and I
Yeah,
talked about.
he whispered that in my ear, and he said, you should bring up the website, and I'm thinking, no, I shouldn't, because something, that we really want to do it, but something always catches fire, and then it gets, because that's not a real high priority, but we will do it.
look at it. Yeah.
No, we're going to do it, because it needs to be done, but just don't set fire to anything before we can get to it. A website that's easier to navigate for one thing, and then to get registered, we should have an email trip. Periodically, Eric or Pam, notes from the manager or notes from Pam, and we just have a group set of emails that we can BCC. Don't CC people, because everybody can see your email address. BCC. And then it goes out to everybody on a regular basis, and we can keep people updated.
Great.
Oh, sorry.
And that's something that could even be
Yes,
done.
Mom.
Sorry.
And it's something that could even be done in conjunction with the social club to promote some of the different events and parties coming up. One thing I will say though is every meeting notice and things like that, Pamela does put it under the announcements on the website, and she does update that calendar religiously on the website. If you click on calendar, it may not give you exactly what you get on the bulletin board flyer, but you should take a look at that. It can definitely be improved to modern day, but
Yeah, modern day.
We have any other questions from the audience?
Come on.
Okay, we're moving right along then.
Can I make one more comment? To the new candidates that haven't been on here before, if you guys could do as good a job as these other people have, that would be a blessing. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Okay, we're down to, on our agenda, the final comments from the candidates. So I'll just go down the list, and if you want to add something, do. If you don't want to add anything, just pass. Isabel?
Well, I would just like to say that I would like to be a member of the board. I will work as hard as I have worked in the past on other committees, especially the social club. And I guess that's about it.
Thank you. Bill?
I also would very much like to be a member of the Pine Ridge Board of Directors. This would be my second opportunity to attempt this. I did 3 years ago. And, but, you know, I think we need to try to stay involved in the community. This is one way of doing it. So at least, I'm glad this time we've got 7 people from 4 positions, which that shows we are getting more people interested in it anyway.
I think, I've only been here 2 years. I've got new eyes, new ears. I'm not the kind of person that's going to say, this is it, you know, this is how it's gonna happen. I'm looking at things new, and that's why I would like to be a member of the board and also to represent my fellow residents.
Scott?
I've said enough.
Okay. Ken?
Well, it takes a lot of time and work to be on the board of directors. It's just not 1 hour, 1 month, you know, when we're up there in front. And, you know, you're on committees, you're negotiating, you're looking after the people, you're trying to address their needs. And I've done that for 6 years, and I've enjoyed it. And I like representing the people, and I'd like to be able to, you know, do it for another 2 years if you would let me. So I'm asking for your vote.
Mike?
I would just like to say that I would appreciate your vote, because I would like to continue a few more years on the board, represent the community, and to do what's best for the community, and make it fun. And the last 6 years has been enjoyable for me on the board, and I think we've done a decent job. I would like to continue with that in the next 2 years, so I appreciate your vote.
Thank you. Well, you know, I have to congratulate all of you candidates for coming forward and wanting to serve the community. It is satisfying, and but it's a lot of work. Okay. Okay, Eric's going to review the voting in case some of you missed it at the board meeting.
Some people have brought their votes down to have Pamela help them get it in the right envelopes in the right order. So I thought that even the big boss over here would. So I just thought going over it one more time with you guys. The instructions are clearly printed, but it's a lot of words and a lot to read, so I know that. But this is the election ballot. It has the 6 candidates listed in alphabetical order, going by last name. You can vote for up to 4 candidates. There are 4 open positions. If you only want to vote for 1, you can only vote for 1. If you only want to vote for 3, you can vote for 3. But you cannot vote for more than 4. If you put an X next to more than 4 of these, your vote is not going to count. Okay? So you can vote for up to 4 candidates. And we have 4 open positions. I think most people would probably vote for 4 candidates. This envelope, or this ballot, you want to fold it up, and there's an envelope labeled envelope number 1, and it says ballot return only, very clearly on the front. You are to take your ballot, fold it, and seal it in envelope number 1. Then the envelope labeled envelope number 2 is where you have to sign and certify your ballot. So each ballot is double sealed to prevent any type of tampering or anything like that. You have a third envelope, and those of you who are mailing them in, so envelope 1 goes inside envelope 2, And then you can put that sealed inside envelope 3 with your proxy, which is this form where we're voting on 3 different issues, outside of the ballot envelopes, but in the envelope 3, which is labeled proxy return envelope. So if you just look at it, the main thing is don't seal your proxy in the double sealed ballot envelope, because the ballot counting is a totally separate thing from the proxy counting. The proxy counting, we certify the results prior to the annual meeting and we just announce them. This has to be counted in public and we have a very specific way of doing it. And the one thing we hate is to get a vote that somebody attempted to vote and they made a mistake and now the vote has to not be counted. So if you have any questions about it, Pamela's gotten to be very knowledgeable. I'm always there to help you. But basically it's envelope 1, 2, 3, the ballot only in envelope 1 and 2, and the proxy in number 3.
Thank you. Okay, let's give the candidates a big hand for. Thank you, guys. Good luck to all of you.
When do they have to be in? When do ballots have to be in?
The ballots have to be in by the date of the annual meeting, but I encourage you to submit them as soon as possible. The sooner we get them in, you don't have to worry about it, number one. And then the morning of the meeting, we go through and certify each ballot that it's signed and valid on the front, and that nobody's somehow voted more than once or anything like that. Yeah, the sooner the better, but take your time, think about your candidates carefully. We've got 6 good ones, so we're good. We're lucky that we have 6 people to volunteer. And
do we still have enough people for the vote count?
The next meeting will be December 19th. We do need vote counters if people are willing to count. Please let me know. We have a sign up. We need a sign up.
Yeah, the vote counting is fun. Sign up today.
And then, before everybody leaves, this is going to be one of the last chances, I think, before the annual meeting. I want to say thank you to Tom for the last 4 years.
Thank you, Tom.
He's the one that has to make the tough decisions, and there's been a lot of work and a lot of time that he contributed. And 4 years, it was a pleasure working for you, with you. And I just want to say thank you, Tom. He complimented me a lot.